I'd like to call to order the January 25th Tax Increment Financing Board meeting. I will call the roll. Joe Camara.
Here.
Linda Pereira.
Here.
Sean Kadeen. Seth Aiken.
Here.
Rich Gonzalez.
Here.
And Frank Marcioni.
Here.
Mayor Paul Coogan is also present. Just so everyone's aware, pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting and may transmit through any media. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings and transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Do we have any citizens' input tonight? We have none. I'd like to ask for approval of the October 23rd minutes.
Second.
Any discussion on those minutes?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. First up, we have a tax increment financing exemption request for Increment Pharmaceuticals, which is located at 594 Airport Road in Fall River. Who's going to speak on this increment? Mr. Fiola, please.
Yes, for the record, Ken Fiola, Executive Vice President, Bristol County EDC. Thank you to the TIF Board Committee for meeting and convening this early morning meeting. It's with great pleasure that I come before you today for two projects, both of which I consider having a tremendous impact upon the city of Fall River in terms of job creation and reutilization of a long-abandoned property. So the first one I'd like to discuss is the TIF request for Increment Pharmaceuticals. Just so you are aware, and you may or may not be aware about the company Increment, but Increment is a division of Cipla Limited. Cipla Limited is India's third largest pharmaceutical company, and they made a corporate decision and business decision to start investing in the United States. They initially started off with investments in New York, and now they've extended those investments here to Massachusetts. They make a variety of pharmaceutical products, and they already have a presence here in the city of Fall River on Current Road. Recently, they put an addition on that building, which represented about 7,000 square feet at a cost of $5.7 million. They did that absent any incentives from the city. The mayor and I actually had an opportunity to go through the building after it was the addition after it was completed, and it's quite impressive in terms of the intellectual firepower they have up there in terms of some limited R&D, but also the manufacturing processes that are taking place there. As a result of what I would like to consider their experience here in Fall River, and a welcoming and a good experience here in Fall River, working with the various department heads to facilitate the purchase of the building, the upgrades to the building, and the expansion of the building, they've now decided to have an additional expansion here in Fall River. This TIF agreement that's before you this morning is a little bit different than the previous TIFs that we've done, because it's a three-party TIF. It's a TIF between the company, Increment, but also, and this, obviously the city of Fall River, but also there's a third party here, Madison Fall River Properties, which is partly owned by Paul Jonkis, and I forget his partner's name. It'll come to me to the meeting, but they recently constructed a 45,000 square foot building on Airport Road within the industrial park at 594 Airport Road. In your in your draft TIF agreement there, 1, 2, 3, and the fourth paragraph of the first page, there's one typo there. The second sentence within that fourth paragraph, and it refers to the city assessors as parcel Z0Z-02-0024. That actually should read, and we'll correct it before it goes to the city council if this is approved this morning, to reflect 0-03 as opposed to 2-0024.
Should we get it from the amendment last week?
I'm sorry?
Should we make that change in the form of an amendment now to get
You
correct?
can,
So we
yes.
vote on the correct.
Correct, yeah, that'd be perfect as part of your motion to approve.
It's going to be included.
Yes,
As amended.
absolutely, yep. So, in this particular instance, Invigen's going to be leasing the property from Madison Fall River Properties. They're going to be entering into a long-term lease. What you see on 594 Airport Road is pretty much just a shell. There's no interior build-out of the shell itself. As a result of this lease, Invigen's going to be moving into the property and making approximately $20 million of upgrades to the property itself. So this TIF agreement is going to reflect the new valuation that's created by the upgrades to the property that the company is making. And those cost savings are going to be shared with the company in terms of real estate abatement or abatement on the new real estate value that's being created as part of their triple net lease, right? So the triple net lease has them paying the property taxes in there. This TIF and the savings associated with this TIF will be specifically applied to the real estate value, and they'll be shared with the company, so there's a lesser operating cost to the company. The building itself, the Madison Fall River Properties has currently invested about $7 million for the land acquisition, as well as the hard and soft construction costs and infrastructure costs. The company is agreeing to create between 30 and 50 new jobs at the location within an 8-year period. The base value on the building itself right now, according to the most recent property assessment, is $2,139,000. The company is a registered manufacturer with the Massachusetts Department of Revenue, and it is exempt from paying property tax, municipal personal property taxes as part of their overall project. With the company shall create 30 to 50 new permanent jobs within the 8-year period. The schedule for creation of those projects are as follows. It's highlighted on page 3 of the agreement under number 2. You can see that 30 new permanent full-time jobs will be created at the property during years 1 through 5. 20 new permanent full-time jobs will be created at the property during years 6 and 7. And 50 permanent jobs will be maintained at the property during year 8. The proposed schedule that's before you in return for this job creation and the $20 million private sector investment is year 1. You would have a 100% property exemption on the new value that's being created after the certificate of occupancy has been issued, and also the assessors department has had an opportunity to come up with the assessment. Year 2 represents 80% exemption schedule. 3, 70% exemption schedule. Year 4, 60% exemption schedule. Year 5 is 50%. Year 6 is 25%. Year 7 is 25%, and year 8 is 10%. We do have a representative from Invigen here with us this morning, Asha, with Invigen, and also a division, which is a division SIPLA, so we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
That 100% thing, what does that actually represent in tax revenue?
We don't know what that is because the assessment's not there, right? So the assessment will be done by the assessors.
Estimate, rough guess, anything?
I can't. We don't know what it's going to be because it's a Rich. The assessors are going to have to do that. They're going to have to get comps in terms of other properties. We don't really have a lot of pharmaceutical companies in the city other than the one that's currently here on Current Road. So, Rich, if you want to talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, excuse me. I have one in a community that I work with. Sort of like the project, not as equal to. That's assessed for $18 million. So if they're taking out a building permit for $20 million, they're in the ballpark.
Now, they will, so the taxes, as you know, right, they'll still pay in the baseline taxes for that year. So there's no tax loss to the city because their baseline will always be that baseline. And then the increment value added on to that baseline will be the valuation that will be exempted.
Any further questions?
What are some of the things they make there? I'm just curious.
Actually, you want to come up to the table, grab the chair? State your name for the any title too.
Yeah, hi. My name is Ashok Nayak. My title is Director of Finance.
Love it.
My name is Ashok Nayak. My title is Director of Finance with Cipla, and Invasion is a subsidiary of Cipla.
You can hear me? Okay. I'm sorry, go again, because I was interrupted.
What are the products that you make there? I'm just curious.
We are mainly into different therapy lines, but primarily we are focusing on developing respiratory products into this facility.
Oh, that's what's very good.
Yes.
Thank you.
And they're also going to be doing some R&D as part of this project within the facility itself.
Yes. The products will be manufactured and developed here, right from the testing, the quality, regulatory, all the functions which are there into the pharmaceutical companies will be present in this location.
Part of the process when they produce these respiratory products, they have to get them tested. So they have to have a warehouse space to store these things, and I think it's 120 days.
For different products.
Yeah, so before they can actually be shipped out, right? So it's a constant give and take between the manufacturing process, the storing, the testing, and the shipping of the product itself.
Is there an FDA inspector on site, or do you have to call for one when?
It will happen in due course once it's up and ready. So it's still in the construction phase. Once that's ready, then we'll request FDA to come and inspect for getting this facility FDA approved.
Would there be a drug that some of us in this room would know what it is, or what?
One drug which you would know is albuterol, which is the respiratory drug, which was also very
Really?
Yes, yes.
Wow, is that a generic or?
It's a generic. Yeah. So when the COVID crisis hit, so at that point in time we were not manufacturing albuterol in US. So we were one of the first companies from India to ship the heavy shipments into the US during that COVID crisis.
When I say, where's it manufactured then? India?
In India.
Very good.
And in the US we do have the facility for manufacturing. It's located in Long Island, New York.
I see.
So this is just the additional facility, and we have big expansion plans for Massachusetts, which will be very focused on the respiratory products.
Massachusetts or for Florida?
Fall River. So in Fall River we have two facilities, one in Currant Road and the second one is now which we are constructing at the airport.
When you're ready to expand some more, Mr. Fiola can help you, okay? Thank you.
Any further questions on Invigen?
So you don't have any facilities in Massachusetts other than Fall River, right? So this will be the first big expansion.
Yes.
Headquarters.
Sorry?
Just one last question.
Go ahead, Mr. Knapp.
You're gonna be hiring 30 to 50 people. What's the average salary?
It will be in different grades, to be honest, so it's very difficult to give some grades. It depends on the, but
What's the entry level and what's the most?
I don't represent human resource function, but I think whatever which is standard as per the law, we are the equal opportunity employer, so whatever it's there as per the Massachusetts standards, we always meet that thing.
Do you know what the Massachusetts standards are?
So I think at their current facility, I think
There are around 40 employees in the current road, that is what I know. I think few are local, and then just to set up, there were some New York employees which came to help, and now once up and running, so we are hiring in Massachusetts. The plan
most of the jobs there's some low-level entry positions. Most of the jobs are all engineer-oriented. So you have to, so in the current road facility, you're seeing pays anywhere between $40,000 to $100,000.
So you said that there was a facility that you and the mayor toured
At current
last
road.
year, the current facility. Is this an expansion of that facility, or is this a separate
It's an
structure?
expansion.
It's an expansion.
No, it's a separate structure.
Separate structure.
Yeah, this is on Airport Road.
Okay, so are they moving out of
No.
and leaving that facility, or are you going to stay there?
This is in addition to.
Great.
expansion plans are still on even at the current road facility.
Okay.
Both are in.
So So they'll still pay all the regular taxes, they're just gonna be TIF on the new quote.
Correct. So current road, there's no incentives associated with that, so they pay full taxes. So this one here, as you said, it's just the the exemption on the new value that's being created.
Excuse me, the one on Current Road now, that's gonna be more like a warehouse at the end? No?
No, they just did that $5 million expansion to facilitate another manufacturing
So
line.
it'll be another R&D, so you're gonna have two R&D.
Not so much R&D over there as much in manufacturing. There's a little R&D there, but
Okay.
more R&D will take
But
place.
it's not warehouse.
No. It does have one section, but not entirely.
Right.
Anything further come for an Invision? With that, I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
That motion
Is there a motion to approve
with the amendment
with the
as
amendment
described?
of, it'd be,
Can you give us the correct parcel number, Mr. Fireman?
Excuse
Can
me?
you give us the correct parcel number?
Parcel number is Z03.
So I make a motion that we approve amending that the parcel number is 030024.
Mr. Kamara's motion is to amend the fourth paragraph before we approve or before we vote on the project. Mr. Kamara made the motion to amend. Can I get a second on the
Second.
amendment? All right, so on this amendment, to the correct number of 0,
Z-03-0024.
on Mr. Kamara's motion to amend, any discussion? I have a second from Councilor Pereira. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Second part, main part, is the approval of the Invision.
Motion to adopt as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Unanimous. Second agreement.
Thank you, sir and ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Fireman.
Good luck. Item number 8 is the tax increment exemption request. Charles Adger or his nominee, 160 Linden Street, Fall River, Mass.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Viola, you speaking on that
Yes,
also?
I am. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think some of you, if not all of you, may be already familiar with this property. This is the former Sacred Hearts Church and Rectory, which is on 160 Linden Street. This proposal represents the conversion of that facility into 46 residential units, all of which will be market rate. And an overall investment in that property of over $10 million for such improvement processes. To tell you a little bit about Hajar Management, Hajar Management has over 25 years of management experience and develops affordable quality residential and commercial spaces across New England and beyond. Excuse me, from apartment to retail centers to offices and industrial spaces, they offer well-maintained, environmentally friendly properties with seamless rental experience. They currently have a project that's just been recently completed here within the city. Once again, the mayor and I had the opportunity to take a look at it, and that's the former Notre Dame School project on Thomas Street. And if you have an opportunity either to visit it or go online, the workmanship and the architectural layout of that building is absolutely outstanding. And it represents, once again, the redevelopment of a property that was not on the tax rolls, and then they came in and literally transformed an abandoned piece of property in the Flint neighborhood, and it's going to be bringing in a whole new constituency of people for that area. They are hoping to do the same here with the 160 Linden Street property. They are going for a TIF as part of this process. This TIF was structured exactly as all other TIFs have been structured in terms of how the incentives are being offered to the company itself. Oh, excuse me, a tie. Excuse me, the tie is being represented, it's being presented in accordance with other previously approved ties as part of the project. The approval of this tie is a necessary component of bigger application project, which they'll be submitting to the state through the Massachusetts Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. They'll be seeking HDIP financing to help offset some of their costs associated with the development of this project itself. The tie exemption schedule represents an 80% cost savings on the new value that's being created during the first 5 years, and a 20% cost savings on the valuation over the next 5 years. That's been, like I said, done in every other tie that's been approved by the TIF board in the past. Currently, there's a base value, according to the most recent assessment of that property, of $572,800. They're hoping to begin construction on the project sometime later this spring and be ready for occupancy in 2025. The project has received all necessary approvals from the zoning board of appeals in terms of a variance as well as a special permit, so that's already been vetted. And the project is pretty much ready to go. We're just going through the process now of putting together the capital stack for the funding of the project and the various incentives that may be applicable to the project in both the form of the tie, but more importantly, the form of the HDIP. And you can't access the HDIP program at the state level unless you have a tie. So this will, again, represents the city's commitment to the overall project in and above the zoning relief that they previously secured. The project itself, as I indicated earlier, is over $10 million. It will have, in my opinion, a pretty substantial impact on that neighborhood. That neighborhood would no longer be plagued by an abandoned piece of property that's been fallen into disrepair over the years. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have, and we also have representatives here from HR Management in the event that you need to ask them questions.
Any questions?
I'm just glad to see that being developed.
So you have in Exhibit 3, the proposed initial one-bedroom monthly rent is $1,850, which is, I guess, consistent with what a market rate residential unit price would be. Is there any plan to do anything affordable? Any preference for veterans? Any preference for any specific population? Do we have a sense of what, because there's 1 and 2 bedroom units in this?
Yes.
Do we have a sense of what a 2 bedroom unit is going to rent for?
About 2,000.
2,000.
And this project it's all 2 bedrooms.
It's all 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
All right, that's helpful.
So we'll make that correction as an amendment to this tie application. So.
I also had the opportunity, this is going to be both the rectory and the church, correct?
Right.
So they're both in extremely tough shape right now. We went through the rectory when we were looking at that for something, and it is really, it's going to be a real catalyst for change in that neighborhood. And I think it's gives them a park right next to them they can use for recreation, and it's a positive development for that neighborhood.
What's the
No, the rectory. Brothers.
What is, no, what is the parking?
Parking, there's ZBA approval allowed for parking about, I think, 1-to-1, both on site and so along the street.
1-to-1?
And I just want to make a correction. There's actually 3 bedrooms. So there's 43 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms.
What did you say, repeat that, 43?
2 bedrooms and then 3 bedrooms.
What are the 3 bedrooms going for?
Probably around 2,900.
So 18 and 9 on 2 bedrooms, 2,800 on 3 bedrooms?
Closer to 2,000 probably in the 2 bedroom.
Okay.
So these are not set in stone. These are what are projected. Obviously, the market conditions may impact that a little bit. That's what they're
A lot of the apartments are different sizes, so depending on the size, maybe a smaller one would be 1,800, a bigger one 2,100.
And just a question, is Notre Dame, do they have their certificate of occupancy at this point?
Not yet. Okay. 2 more weeks.
Any questions further?
Can we hear from, so just a statement and why I want to hear from the management. I'm concerned about, I mean, obviously this is going to draw people to the city.
Yeah.
But I have real concerns about, a $2,000 a month rent. I mean, that's more than my mortgage, it's more than a lot of people's mortgages. Basically, pressing people out of that neighborhood. And obviously, we want to.
So I'll answer that question on behalf of the management. If that's
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Okay, so this investment represents a significant investment in the severely distressed census tract. Right now, you have market rate projects that are occurring throughout the city. The best way to address the affordability issue in the city of Florida is to create more supply. This, in accordance with other properties that are being rehabbed and projected to be constructed, will increase the supply, which in the long term will drive down rental rates. Just so this project is now bookending what you see in terms of the revitalization that's occurring on Albany Street, where you have the former Cornell Mill that was converted into over 100 market rate units, as well as the Hague Textile. You're going to be bringing in a constituency of people that have more dispendable income into a neighborhood that will help facilitate and increase retail sales within that neighborhood as well as the city itself. The city of Fall River has over 28% of its housing stock is currently affordable, both in public housing as well as private deed restricted housing. The state's average for affordable housing is at 10%. We exceed the state average by over 200%, or close to over 200%. So in terms of creating a more livable community, I think it's in the best interest of the city that we provide housing for all different income stratas. We can create a balanced city where you have properties such as this that have sat dormant for a number of years that could have been redeveloped by other developers and chose not to be redeveloped. Here you have Haitian Management that's coming forward to develop those properties for market rate housing, which is going to have a substantial impact upon that neighborhood as well as the city. So in terms of housing affordability, the city has gone beyond its obligation to create affordable housing. Now we're just trying to balance the scale so that you have a more livable community. You have a constituency of people that are going to have disposable income that are going to help, create more retail sales and other types of, assist other types of businesses in the city. And so when we look at the housing, we got to look at it holistically and understand if we're going to address the rental issue in the city of Fall River, we need to increase the supply. This project, along with other projected projects, will increase that supply, give people an opportunity to move into these units that are currently in units now and opening up other units in the city. These units have all the amenities that people want to see in today's marketplace: HVAC, off-street parking, dishwashers, laundry facilities, right? So they become more attractive to people that are living here as people from the outside. So that's why I think it's important that we keep this in mind as we're moving forward with the development of housing in the city, and keep an eye upon the fact that 28% of our housing stock is already subsidized or deemed affordable.
I understand the economics. I'm just, I'm torn by what our obligations are to the people that are here, the actual residents of Fall River, and how do we.
I've lived here all my life. I'm as equally as stormed.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
I live in the city, right? I understand the impact upon us. I understand that firsthand.
And I agree with Mr. Fennell said, not only are we above and beyond, well above and beyond community requirements, we've been above and beyond for 40, 50 years. Yeah. And other communities have not stepped up, and that's the problem. These apartments in any other city north of Fall River would be $5, $6, $7 more for 2 bedrooms.
If you really want to address the affordability issue, look at your surrounding communities, where there's less than 3% affordable housing in all our abutting communities.
I understand.
Share the wealth.
What I like about these projects myself is this is a vacant building. there's no displacement at all, right? We're hoping to draw in some new people, and as the model is, that people want to move to a different, I went to the Notre Dame school, what I liked about that is there's actually townhouses. Upstairs where you have those apartments, they're 2 floors, you got 2 bedrooms upstairs with a bath, and there's a staircase in their apartments, so it's pretty classy, and I really liked it. He knows I liked it. I went through it. It was very nice stuff, and if they do something similar to this one, it'll add a classy piece to that neighborhood for sure.
I did have an opportunity to talk to one of those developers, several properties in the city, into market rate, asking about vacancies. Some of the apartments are not even completed yet, and they're already at full occupancy, people will apply. So when you think people can't afford this rent, I find it hard because, my daughter has that one to pay it off, whatever, but, I was like pretty amazed that there's waiting lists for properties that aren't even completed yet.
There's a new dynamic taking place in the housing market, where you have, when we were raised, our big dream was to own a house, right? There's younger people don't necessarily want to own, they prefer to rent. Now, they prefer to rent because they like the flexibility of just locking the door and going, traveling, doing whatever. The ability to come up with 20% for a down payment on a house that's $500,000-$600,000 is problematic for young professionals, especially if they have school debt, right? So there's a whole different dynamic in terms of the rental market. And we need to be able to provide products that are attractive to this market so that people also have a place to live and an affordable place to live.
Yeah, we're doing 2 tips today, so those engineers are gonna get a place to live, they might hook up with you guys.
That's right.
That's the clientele you're gonna be looking for.
That's exactly right. They want the quality of apartment in which to move into.
I
We
agree.
gotta provide that.
So you guys should hook up together, so business
The
cards.
first project was very expensive to build, we're way over budget too. Thank God we can charge our market rent, and hopefully make our money back. It's not cheap to build anymore.
It's not, and it's hit and miss too, you don't know what the market's gonna happen 2 years from now. So-
Right, we got to the end of that project, we were hit with, we couldn't get the meters, electric meters and sockets. We had to go another route, costing us over $100,000 at the end.
Should've called me, I was gonna phone from Argentina. Should've called me, I was gonna phone from Argentina.
Oh, yeah.
The guy that does that, because he couldn't, he was the only place that was building them.
Mr. Mayor, if I could also briefly add that these types of projects also brought smaller independent landlords, if you will, into competing with these types of projects by, offering more amenities
And fix up their homes.
and fixing up their apartments and buildings. So I think that's a very important byproduct.
Thank you, Frank. Any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Got a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Abstain.
You take it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Any new business to come before the TIF board today? Any old business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
Thank you.